Welcome back. Well, a new caravan of 2,000 illegal migrants headed to the U.S. southern border right now. The Biden-Harris administration is taking a victory lap over these new border numbers, which show a slowdown in illegal crossings since Biden took office. Of course, they've been record numbers in the last 4 years. No mention of the recorded gotaways or the 320,000 missing children. A White House spokesperson says recent border crossings are down more than 55% since Biden took office, to the lowest level in 4 years. Meanwhile, two suspected members of the dangerous gang, the Venezuelan Endangering gang, have been accused of murdering a man inside of a Connecticut hotel room. They then fled the scene in the victim's car with their 2 young children. Cops arrested the suspect when they tried to use a stolen credit card at an Amtrak station. Texas Senator Ted Cruz and Texas Congressman Chip Roy are now demanding the Biden-Harris administration provide a full accounting of Venezuelan migrants released into the country. Good luck with that. They're asking specifically who and where these migrants are. In a letter to Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, the lawmakers charge, quote, the massive increase in crimes committed by Venezuelan illegal aliens is a direct result of this administration's purposeful policies. Joining me now is one of the men himself, Texas Congressman Chip Roy, a member of the House Judiciary, Rules and Budget Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate your time. Is there any way, realistically, for you to actually know how many Venezuelan gangs and dangerous Venezuelans are in this country right now?
Maria, no, that's the exact question. And the fact is, you kind of snickered and you said good luck with that. And, you know, most of the people I represent are tired of, quote, strongly worded letters. But you know what? So am I. That's the reason November 5th is so critically important. What Ted and I are really trying to do, Senator Cruz and I are really trying to do, is set the stage for what we need when we get control again of the Department of Homeland Security. When we do what we should do on November 5th, when we retake the executive branch, we have the House and the Senate, we've got to go through and have a total clearing out. The American people deserve to know what this administration has done to the American people. I've come to know, and you probably know, Alexis Nungering. She's a beautiful 27-year-old woman outside of Houston. Her beautiful 12-year-old daughter was murdered by one of these Venezuelan gang members and another Venezuelan just outside of Houston. She put her daughter to bed, Jocelyn Nungering, on Sunday night, and on Monday, her daughter was no longer with her because of these Venezuelan gangs. In San Antonio, we just had about a mile from the San Antonio airport, we had 20 arrests of Venezuelans, 4 associated with TDA, 1 who is an enforcer, a dangerous individual. We had a prostitution ring running in El Paso. We had a woman abducted in Arlington, bound and robbed up in Irving, Texas. This is all over the country, not just Aurora, Colorado, but right here in Texas, where we're getting hammered for this. So Ted and I just want to know what in the hell is going on. Ted and I just want to know how many of these freaking gangs are running all over the country, how many Americans have suffered, and what are we going to do about it? We need President Trump and a Republican House and Senate to actually do what we said we would do. It's not enough just to win. In January, we need to do something about it.
I mean, these pictures are so stunning. Let's show that picture from Sunday once again, this wide shot of all of these people walking toward the southern border. They're in Mexico. This wide shot this is just Sunday. I mean, look at all of these people from Mexico to Pilchula, Mexico, and they're coming toward the U.S. border to enter the country. How is it possible that the Biden-Harris administration has kept pace with all of this and has vetted these people properly? There's no way, and we know that now from all of the murders that you just recounted, Congressman. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris takes no responsibility for it. She did an interview with Bret Baier. It was an excellent interview. Bret pressed her on the border. She took no responsibility for this wide open border and the murders that you just relayed. She'll be campaigning in Houston on Friday with Congressman Colin Allred. He's challenging Ted Cruz's Senate seat. So she's going to be with the opponent of Cruz on this weekend. Democrats say that Cruz's seat is their best pickup opportunity this election cycle. But recent polls show that Cruz has a tight lead there. Democrats are pumping money into this race. The Chuck Schumer super PAC spent millions on new ads in an attempt to boost Allred. But will Colin Allred and Kamala Harris take responsibility for the open border when they campaign this weekend?
Well, of course they won't. I mean, look, there's no other way to put it than that our Democratic colleagues and Kamala Harris and President Biden, are liars. They are lying to the American people. this nonsense that, oh, the numbers are going down in the border crossings. Well, that completely ignores the fact that they are purposely flying and moving people into our country, directly releasing them into our country. Bill Clinton, campaigning for Kamala Harris, said, yeah, we're not vetting these people properly. They know what they're doing, and they don't care.
Yeah.
That's the truth, Maria. And Colin Allred, they are spending like hundreds of millions of dollars against Ted Cruz, the most expensive race in history, because they know they're going to lose West Virginia. They think they're going to lose Montana. They think they're in trouble in Ohio. They think they're in trouble in Pennsylvania. So they are desperate to try to knock off Ted Cruz, because Senator Cruz is one of the few who are actually in Washington trying to fight to stop with the madness of what this administration is doing to our people. I mean, Maria, my great-great-grandfather was a Texas Ranger. The people who settled Texas came in here and fought to try to give us a state that is free and secure and prosperous. And now this administration is endangering us and giving it away. Well, we've got to stand up and fight them, and then we've got to support President Trump and secure this border.
I mean, is there any way that a woman who was in charge of the border, who has overseen this wide open border, can take no responsibility for it and actually win the election? And heck, this story has been the biggest story, the biggest failure of the Biden-Harris administration. And look how tight these polls are. Are you believing these polls? Jump in here, Mahak.
Look, I don't believe these polls. I believe there's an undercurrent of voters, just like we saw when President Trump first ran, that are going to rebel hard, because these aren't deep fakes. We're actually cheap fakes. We're actually seeing pictures of illegal immigrants that are killing our women and children. I don't believe Senator Ted Cruz's race is that close, because the American people are waking up, and this is in their backyards now.
Well, I mean, look, Chip Roy, in the middle of all of this, look what Joe Biden said about Trump yesterday. Watch this.
I mean, so I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up. Lock him out. That's what we have to do.
He said lock him up. Lock Trump up, Congressman. And then he corrected himself and says lock him out politically. Earlier this week, Vice President Kamala Harris was laughing at the idea of Trump going to prison. Watch this.
Some people find it humorous what he says and think it's just silly, but understand how brutally serious it is. Well, the courts will take care of that. We'll take care of November. Yes. We'll take care of November.
Congressman, she's sitting there saying, we'll take care of November. The courts will take care of locking him up. She's with Liz Cheney. That entire town hall, Maria Shriver, Liz Cheney, Kamala Harris, not one comment about policy. No solutions whatsoever. It was all about how dangerous Trump is. And you've got Joe Biden saying lock him up. Still, this incredibly hostile language, despite 2 assassination attempts against Trump. Your thoughts?
Well, it's a complete joke, except that it's not a laughing matter, despite the ridiculous laugh of Kamala Harris. The fact is, we've got President Trump, who secured the border, who believes in his country, who believes in sovereignty, who loves his country, who is standing up and fighting for it, who took a bullet right by his head, a second assassination attempt, and is still out on the campaign trail because he loves his country. You've got radical progressive Democrats who want to destroy our country and are doing it in real time. The reality is we have Democrats like Jamie Raskin who have already said they have no intention of trying to make sure that we're going to see President Trump. They have no intention of counting the electorate. We have to have an overwhelming victory in the House and the Senate so that we can do the job of picking in the electors, counting the electors for President Trump, which I can assure you I'll be out there as a strong voice saying we have a constitutional duty to do. We shouldn't have the Vice President, Kamala Harris, have some sort of unilateral authority to reject the electors. We've got to see President Trump take the House and the Senate and fight for America.
Well, it's a good point, because at the end of the day, isn't it the Vice President that has to certify?
Yep, which is why I believe that we got to stand up and take the electors. That's what we're going to do.
All right, Congressman, thanks very much.